All right, so this video is the astrology of Kanye West. So, firstly, I want to say this is in response to a lot of the recent headlines in regards to Kanye West's stance and political ideas, and him recently visiting Trump, and just a lot of people, upset at him or confused about some of his actions. And I do also want to say that there is some controversy with Kanye West's birth time. So, years ago, there was a time floating around that said 8:45 a.m. and a lot of people went with that. And I believe they then retracted it from it was a magazine or article that someone wrote, and they actually said they actually don't know. They don't have a confirmed birth time, and we know if you don't have a confirmed birth time, that it's very hard to know what house someone's placements are in. So I can definitely tell you some of Kanye's signs of his birth chart that are the same no matter what time he was born. This controversy also affects what moon he has. And so what I've done, I did a little bit of research. I compared different possible charts of Kanye West, and based on the information at hand, based on the things we've seen from Kanye over the years, I'm landing at it is very possible he was born in the morning, maybe more so between 9:45 to 10:45. So the chart that I have shown right now is 10:45. Okay, but again, this is a estimate. I do not have the exact one, but I can definitely tell some of his influences even without knowing his birth time. All right, so let's get started. So the reason why the controversy is important is because the moon changes every 2 to 3 days, right? So for some people, your moon changed that day. And so on the day that Kanye was born, June 9th, 1977, the moon was in Pisces and then it went into Aries that morning. And so at 8:45 birth time would put him as a Pisces moon. Now, when I looked at a chart, I was like, okay, I can see some of these placements being possible, but that Pisces moon didn't sit well with me. And I thought about it a lot. And, comparing what I know about my moon and Pisces people and also Gemini suns with moon and Pisces, I determined that it is more than likely he is a moon in Aries person. So here's why I say this. First of all, the sun is the outside. It's the shell. He's a Gemini. He communicates a lot. He shares what's on his mind. He is all about ideas and his thoughts on ideas, and he feels he has to share these ideas. They're not really locked inside of him, right? So that's very Gemini. But a moon and Pisces person would be very, very compassionate. Now, remember, compassionate and passionate are two different things. I would say Kanye is more passionate, which is a very Moon and Aries type thing. He's very passionate about what he thinks, what he believes. Moon and Pisces people are more compassionate. They care for all. They're a water moon. And so there's this more sensitivity to these people. Okay, they're very sensitive. They have tact. They internalize how people treat them. Sometimes Moon and Pisces people don't speak out in the way that they would, and they internalize their hurt. And it seems to me that Kanye West does not internalize his feelings at all. They have to come out. And so I determined that more than likely he is a Moon in Aries. Very responsive. Moon and Aries people are very responsive. So while some moon signs are more covert, some moon signs are more internal. The moon is an internal. It's the hidden. It's the part of you that's the emotions and the feelings. Moon in Aries is very responsive. There's kind of a very strong independence there to be heard. Now, Moon in Aries is not necessarily emotional, but their feelings and how they feel on the issue. And if they feel offended, they have to say something. They have to do that. And I also did this chart to move his birth time up potentially because I thought about it and I said, wait a minute, who else is a Gemini sun, a fire moon, and a Leo rising like Kanye? Kanye is a Leo rising based on this chart time, okay? I'll get to that in a moment. Donald Trump. Donald Trump is a Gemini sun, a Sagittarius moon, so that's a fire moon, and a Leo rising. And so that might be why Kanye is a fan of Trump. There's some type of energetic, um, you know, some type of energetic, connection between them. He sees a lot of himself in Trump. I don't know for sure, but I do know that that could be the reason why he is drawn to Trump, why he is embracing Trump's ideas, why he is using Trump's slogan, why he is meeting with him and all these different things, they have a lot of people upset. Okay, so that is why I determined that it is very likely that Kanye is a fire moon, because he has a lot of fire moon characteristics, especially if you combine it with the Gemini sun, which likes to talk and communicate and is about ideas. Remember, Gemini is not just about knowing things. A lot of Gemini energy, especially a person with fire energy like Kanye's chart, would be very much someone who has to share all those things with other people. He can't just have his ideas, keep them locked up. He has to get them out, which is definitely also linked to his career, as a rapper and being able to express himself through words. So let's move on to his rising. So, based on this time, it is very possible that he is a Leo rising. And this would make sense for a variety of reasons. Leo likes to be in the sun, Leo likes to shine. Now, that's definitely going to happen, especially also if you have somebody with these other placements that he has, like this Gemini energy and this Aries energy. And so, he would rap a lot and he would have a lot of things, not unlike a lot of rappers, but he would be flashy in certain parts of his life. He cared about fashion. You could tell when he was dating before Kim, and when he was with Amber Rose, and when he was with Alexis, that he wanted to be seen with these women. And fashion was a big thing. He cared about what they looked like and how they were dressed and how he was dressed. That's a very Leo thing. I also know that Leos can be very generous. And so Kanye is also, if somebody's in his inner circle, he can tend to be probably very generous with these people, because Leo, yes, they like to shine, but they want you to shine with them. And so I see a lot of Leo in Kanye, and there's this attention and the like of that. So definitely see the Leo in him. Okay, this Leo rising, his ascendant, how he comes across to other people. And yes, Leo energy can be egotistical at times, especially if you have other influences in your chart which make you more of a person likely to have a big ego. All right. And so, some people will call it confident, whatever the case is. All right. So let's move on. Okay. So we now let's move on to his first house. So in his first house, so it depends on what chart you use. I used another software and it had his Saturn in the 12th house. Okay. And if you look at this chart here, if this was the birth time that was correct, Saturn in Leo is actually really close to the 12th house. So some charts might actually show this here, depends on the degrees that you use. And so I'm going to just quickly go into what that would mean. In the first house, Saturn and Leo. Okay, so this could be a person who presents themselves as very serious. Saturn has a lot of serious energy, but also Leo is not serious. So Saturn, it could be someone who's not comfortable 100% with themselves. So even though it might come across like he is, there could be some areas of discomfort, even if they came from past, right, childhood or something of that nature, because Saturn does not work well in Leo. Saturn's about structure and Leo's about creativity and fun. And so this could indicate somebody who's kind of has some contradictions within themselves. And Saturn would indicate like someone who wants to really be taken seriously, but at the same time they want to have fun, and at the same time they want to be creative. And so they're trying to constantly balance the two. Now, if this was in his 12th house, which it could be, right? You would see this would kind of go into some of the alleged claims that he has had some been diagnosed with bipolar disorder potentially, and things of that nature. And that could definitely be influenced by this 12th house energy here, because the 12th house is secrets, the hidden, the subconscious, the underneath part, the mind, right? And also could be deal with institutions, prisons, hospitals, things like that nature. And so now, if it's not an actual institution, not an actual prison, it also could represent the prison that some people have within their minds. And so this Saturn energy here could definitely play a role in depression. Saturn and Leo, there also could be, he can struggle sometimes, even though he, you know, for all the controversy that's going on, a lot of people still really like his music, especially his earlier music. He was, you know, a lot of people listened to his music. A lot of people were fans of his music. So he's gained some fans. He's lost some fans based on some of his, ideologies. But this could definitely be like sometimes he has a block, writer's block. Sometimes he wants to be creative, but he's locked in. He can struggle sometimes with his creativity, struggle to feel that he is able to express himself. All right, so let's move on to the third house. Okay, the third house is the house which deals with early childhood, early education, siblings, neighbors, things of that nature. Now, Kanye, um, I believe, is an only child, especially, I know his mother didn't have any more children. I'm not sure about his father. So he has Pluto and Libra in his third house. And so the third house also focuses on our the communication style that we have. And so Pluto can be very secretive, but it also could be very transformative. Pluto is very, how to describe Pluto energy? Pluto energy is always trying to evolve. It is dramatic, okay? But it's subtle. It's not like Mars, right? And so when you see Pluto, there's this attempt to be secretive, intent to figure things out. So in a way, he likes to figure things out so he can communicate that. But with that Libra energy, Libras can talk a lot. Libra energy is very open and talkative, and it's about others. He can't really hide secrets for long. So that could be another part of his potential. Again, this is all I'm just interpreting the chart based on the placements I see, the information that I know, and just the information I know about astrology, but also the information that I simply know about him since his career started, and I did was a fan at one point. Okay, so also Pluto can have some issues with trust. Okay, when you have the third house, this can be issues with trust. Pluto in Libra, though, is also generational. So people born around that time that Kanye was born, Pluto lasts for a pretty long time. So, if you think about the planets are not in the same place for the same amount of time. Some planets is 2 years, some is 10, some is 24. So that Pluto and Libra generation, Libra is about fairness and Pluto's about change, drastic, revolutionary, transformation, changing the the makeup of something. Okay. And so Pluto and generation wants everything to be fair, and they want equality, and they want to break barriers. And so how that relates to this Pluto and Libra being in his third house is that he really believes what he says. And in his mind, he thinks he's being a fair-minded free thinker. And he's tapping on that kind of Libra energy of like, I'm saying this so I can free you all. All of you need to think like me. They're controlling us. He believes, remember, Pluto is focused energy. Pluto is very focused. It could be transformative in a positive way or a negative way. It really can be destructive as well. It really depends on how you use the energy. Okay. And so that's some components of how Pluto and Libra could potentially be a factor in Kanye West's life, depending on this chart resurrection. Now, next thing I see here. So regardless of whether Pluto and Libra is in his third house or not, he was born in the Pluto and Libra generation. Regardless of whether his Saturn is in this house or that house, he is Saturn in Leo. And what I said would apply. Now let's look at his North Node in Libra. No matter what house it is in, he has a North Node in Libra. Now your North Node is your spiritual direction. It is the direction you should be going to. It is the opposite of the direction that you're coming from. And so North Node in the third house. Well, first of all, third house is of communication. So if his North Node is in the third house, that means in a way, he is fulfilling part of his spiritual destiny because he's sharing his voice with the world. He shared his music with the world. He shares his opinions with the world, right? And so North Node in Libra, though, is interesting because if his moon is in Aries, Aries is the opposite sign of Libra. Okay. So what's actually happening here is that in order to fulfill his spiritual destiny, there has to be an intense focus on partnership and friendship and others, and not so much doing things for the sake of yourself, communicating for the sake of yourself, but also doing it so that you can actually include other people. Okay. And so in some ways he might be fulfilling this, and in some ways we could say, well, if we still believe that Kanye West, a lot of people like he's very egotistical, he's all about himself, he would not be fulfilling his destiny. But again, I don't know him personally, so this is just based off this interpretation. Another interesting thing is Kim Kardashian. She is a Libra, so that energy there, he has that Pluto in Libra. he has the North Node Libra, that energy is kind of is shared. All right. So now let's move on to the fourth house. Fourth house is home, household, family. Okay, it's a water house. It's a house dealing with our emotions. So he has Uranus and Scorpio. Okay, and so Uranus is the planet of erratic change. It's spontaneous. It is a risk-taking planet. Now, when you have something like that in the fourth house, that means that there can be a childhood that was uprooted, a household that was uprooted. And his parents divorced when he was 3, and he went to live with his mom. And so I don't know for sure what the relationship with his dad was, but it sounds like he spent most of his childhood with his mom. Okay, and Uranus and Scorpio. Scorpio is an emotional sign, a water sign. Now, Scorpio hides their emotions a little bit more. It doesn't look the same as like Pisces or Cancer energy, but Scorpio, it can be really wounded emotionally. So this uprooting in his household, it's a deep emotional wound. It would be like a deep emotional change that happened within his life. And Uranus indicates like this, a not a usual family situation, not a usual dynamic. He also moved a lot. Sometimes you see Uranus in someone's fourth house can also indicate changes in residence, changes where he lived, going away from home, moving away from home. I believe he lived in another country. I believe China with his mom at one point. His mom, if I'm not mistaken, she was a professor, or she was someone very, she was educated, and so they moved around a lot because of her job. Okay, now let's move to the fifth house. Fifth house ruled by the sun. It's about fun, creativity, hobbies, children, romance, all those types of things. And so when we see Neptune in the Sagittarius, it's a very interesting energy because they're kind of different. Whereas Neptune is about the internal dreams and desires, and Sagittarius is an outer, right? Sagittarius energy is optimistic, idealistic, philosophical. In a way, it's also can be unpredictable, right? And so, or it doesn't like to be tied down. So this could also indicate, but when you put Neptune and Sagittarius together, he has a lot of different projects he likes to do. Kanye likes to do a lot of different things, in general, it seems like. And so even though he's a rapper, there are other things he's trying to do, or like such as fashion and other things. Okay, and so, yeah, Neptune, he shines in creativity, idealistic, progressive, not always focused. I mean, he can shift his actions a lot, and sometimes that might be, you know, confusing to his fans. It could also be very, cause a problem with some of his personal life, perhaps. And also, you look think about people who have Neptune and Sagittarius energy. That's not really focused energy, but it also shows that there's this idealism, right? This idealism that he has. And so you think about his romance. His fifth house also was dealing with dating. Like he wants the dream girl. He wants the person that is going to give him attention, or he wants the person that is going to look good on his arm. Okay, and that's some fifth house energy, especially when you have those two things going on there. All right, so as we see here, there's nothing on his sixth or seventh house. Now, he has some signs on his cusp, such as here. I'm gonna just quickly, I'm not gonna go into detail, but if this, according to this chart, we have Capricorn and sixth cusp. The Capricorn on the cusp of the sixth house, which could mean like his work ethic. He has a hard work ethic, Capricorn, like in the way that he deals with work, okay, and routine. If he needs to get something done, he probably can. And we have Aquarius on the seventh house, so different, right? So different people who are open-minded to relationships with people that could be different than them, right? And so he is, in an interracial relationship, so there could be some influences there. This Aquarius right here, okay? And I'm not going to go through all the cusps, but right now I'm going to move on to this moon in Aries in the 8th house. So if his moon in Aries is in the 8th house, what would that actually mean? So there would definitely be a focus on being self-important. Aries is a sign of self, and 8th house is Scorpio energy. It's, ruled by Pluto. So you have some tense emotions going on there. And the thing with that is it can come off as possessive over loved ones. Moon in Aries in the 8th house can be very possessive. They maybe want to control the finances of loved ones. 8th house is also linked to inheritance and money and other people's money. This would be a very intense placement. This person feels what they feel deep down. And it's not necessarily an emotional like crying or babbling, but it's just very just raw emotion, right? And sometimes these people who would have a placement like this, um, he might put his needs over his loved ones, thinking that he knows best. In his mind, it could be, I know what I'm doing. I know what my family needs. But also this will be a person moon in eighth. Like Scorpio doesn't love everyone. They're not Pisces. Scorpio cares about those in their inner circle, and so he, from what it seems like, there is a closeness with his family, extended family. I believe he's reacquainted with his father. Again, he spent most of his childhood with his mother, based on what I read, and so he does talk to his father and some extended, relatives. So there's this, this need to provide or care for those other people that are, his family members. All right, so let's move on here. I'm not really going to go into Chiron and Taurus right now, but I will go into, let's do this Mars and Taurus. Okay, so Mars is dominating, and the ninth house is about spirituality, philosophy, long distance travel, knowledge, quest for knowledge. In the way that he asserts himself, there is a need for him to find out more. Now, again, what he's been saying and doing is very controversial. A lot of people do not agree with what Kanye has been saying and doing, but at the same, in his mind, he is on a spiritual quest for understanding of life. He believes that he's seeking truth, and what he's saying is the truth. And Mars and Taurus is dominating, but he's on a spiritual message to determine that truth, as I just said. But Taurus is a fixed sign. He actually has a lot of fixed energy in his chart based on this. 9 placements. So a fixed sign person is very locked into their own ideas. They're usually not doing too much to completely change those ideas. They're not really molding their ideas to fit others. They're just kind of locked in. And so there would be a very, Mars is about action. It's a very stubborn approach to his mission and his action. Ninth house is also energy that can move freely. Okay, so there's a kind of stubbornness there with the things that he does. He might not consult other people. Just like when he recently said he was going to move back to Chicago, and apparently Kim didn't, know that, or he had not spoken with her about that, and there was, that headline or whatever. All right, Venus and Taurus. Two other So, would you look at Venus and Taurus? Um, Taurus is very steady energy. It does not roam a lot. It can be very stubborn, but it is predictable. Okay, it is not free roaming energy like Gemini or Sagittarius or anything like that. It's an earth sign. And so he's had, I'm sure as a celebrity, he's dated a lot of people, but two other public relationships before Kim, like two big relationships before Kim that were public, right? But then he settled down with Kim, and right there, it seems like there's a need for security, right? Because a lot of people, when they first started dating, didn't think it was going to last. But if someone has a Venus and Taurus, it's a person who doesn't really want to be single for that long. They are looking for somebody to be secure with, okay? And also, Taurus deals with beauty, okay? Venus is a sign of beauty, and Taurus is ruled by Venus. And so, for him, in his mind, he views her as his standard of beauty. He views her as what he's been looking for, okay? And now, if we move on to, so we also have this energy here of his South Node in Aries. Now, I just said that his North Node is in Libra. These are opposite signs because your North Node and South Node are going to be opposite signs. All right. But here, what's interesting about this is that for him, your South Node is where you're coming from. Now, where you're coming from can either be in a past life, or some people who don't believe in past lives, it's more so your past, like how you used to be in your life. And so right now, South Node in Aries, this is what comes natural to him. This is what he needs to break free from a little bit. What comes natural to him is being independent, thinking only of himself, being self-indulgent, being impulsive, doing for yourself first. And his path is more so about thinking of others, relating to others, not just yourself. Okay. Now, if we move on to the 10th house. 10th house is the house of career. Okay. All right, 10th house of career. He has Mercury and Taurus in his, so he has some earth energy in his chart. Yes, he has the free Roman fire, but his earthiness, the interesting thing is it's all Taurus, fixed energy, not cardinal or mutable. So Mercury is dealing with the mind, communication. It is dealing with, and he also has his Taurus, his midheaven, which deals with your career, and your, your direction in that, in Taurus as well. There's a lot of Taurus energy in his chart. But anyway, Mercury and Taurus, career is linked to his ideas and his ability to communicate. So we see that here because in his, line of work, he is, he is expressing himself, whether he's rapping, whether he's, you know, talking, interviewing, whatever the case may be, trying to express himself. His career is linked to his ideas. um he's locked into his own ideas. Like, he really, really wants to go at the beat of his own drum in his career. He really is stuck on what he really wants to materialize out of his life. So it's almost like Kanye, based on this, right? This Kanye West is not focused on being led by other people. Again, right, wrong, in the middle, whatever y'all, you think. This, based on this chart, is a person who is really trying to find their own way, their own truth. But I mean, as we see in his North Node, he does have to let others, he has to relate to others. He's only going on his own, that's kind of going against there. Okay, well, his spiritual path is down here. So let's move on to the 11th house. 11th house, okay? 11th house is very interesting because the 11th house is ruled by Saturn. um Also has a little bit. So here's the thing: 11th house is linked to Aquarius type energy, right? Aquarius is ruled by Saturn and Uranus, so it carries some of that same energy. Now when you think about the 11th house, it can be based on your dreams, your wishes, also your associations, your, who you're associated with, group associations, things of that nature. And so his sun in Gemini, if it's in the 11th house, you know this is somebody who is very wants to be closely aligned to people that they care about. Their friend circle is really important to them. If the sun in Gemini is in 11th house, this is somebody who their associations might even help them. It's where they shine the most, right? When you think of him, yes, he's made a name for himself, but also you have to understand, like, the way he even got into the rap game, like, he associated himself with, like, Jay-Z, Rockefeller. Like, he was, trying to get, his music heard, right? And so he had luck there. Also, look at Jupiter there. Jupiter and Gemini. Luck. His associations with other people. I mean, even like Kim. Yes, Kanye was huge in hip hop, and also, like, not just hip hop, but crossover. He crossed over to, like, people who weren't just hip hop heads listen to him, but at the same time, when he got with Kim, he started being around circles that he was not around before, right? And so here we have this merging here. When you have the Sun and Jupiter together, that's a positive indication that he has benefited greatly from his connections and his associations. Okay? All right. And so again, that is a chart interpretation for Kanye West based on this information. Again, the birth time is not completely solidified because there are some discrepancies with his actual time. I did a chart resurrection based on the closeness to the original time, but also the fact that he most likely does not have a Pisces moon based on what we know about Kanye, and he is very, very closely more like a Aries moon person. All right, and a lot of these placements, if these are not correct, they probably just would shift to a different house, but a lot of these seem to really make sense. All right, so if you like this video, please hit the like button. Also, be sure to subscribe. Thank you for watching.